A massive new document release from the United States Department of Justice has once again pushed the Jeffrey Epstein case back into international headlines, with officials confirming, according to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, that over 3 million pages of records, thousands of videos, and hundreds of thousands of images are now being made public under transparency laws, reopening disturbing allegations that many believed were already settled. Among the most talked about materials is a 2010 civil complaint filed in Florida, where an alleged victim described what she claimed was a structured and repeated pattern of exploitation at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion, detailing transportation arrangements, intake procedures, and payment exchanges, allegations that resurfaced now as part of the DOJ's newly released investigative archive. The complaint further alleged intimidation tactics and recruitment pressure, stating that after each encounter, payments were allegedly made and warnings issued, claims that were documented in court filings at the time and now re-examined as part of the government's broader disclosure effort, which officials say was mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, passed after months of political and public pressure. The release also revives attention on Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime associate, who in 2021 was convicted by a federal jury in New York on sex trafficking-related charges and is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence in Texas, while continuing to deny wrongdoing, making her the only individual criminally convicted in direct connection to Epstein's wider network. Adding another layer of controversy, the files reportedly include archived correspondence and emails that reference high-profile figures, allegations which several individuals, including business leaders and former political figures, have strongly denied, highlighting how the renewed disclosure is not just legal, but deeply political and reputational in impact. Jeffrey Epstein himself died in August 2019 while in federal custody in New York, officially ruled a suicide just weeks after facing federal trafficking charges. Yet years later, the release of these documents shows that the legal aftermath, unanswered questions, and public demand for accountability continue to evolve, proving that this case remains one of the most scrutinized and controversial investigative sagas in modern history.
Right. Well, I think we can assume we'll see a lot of images of Ghislaine Maxwell. She is not being redacted. DOJ says that there are images of her. What would be interesting to see is what videos or still photos there are where there are redacted victims, for example, faces, but are there images of people who are not victims who are in those photographs? And what does that mean for the big Epstein picture here? And are these people who are familiar to us? Are there people who were in the last drop of documents and photographs? Right. Well, we will see soon enough if the people think that DOJ is falling short on what they're releasing. Are people comparing things that they already know to see what's in the DOJ files? Remember also what's happened recently. You had claims by Ghislaine Maxwell and her attorneys that there were more than 24 people who entered into deals to avoid prosecution. Whether or not that's accurate, that remains to be seen. But that's a claim that's out there, and that certainly takes us to a different level. If she is telling the truth, if her people are telling the truth, does that match up to what we see in these DOJ files? And is that a whole new avenue to go down? The Bannon connection is fascinating because it shows that Epstein's reach was phenomenal. I mean, whether it was people like Woody Allen or Bill Clinton, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, Epstein was at the center of a lot of circles, a lot of concentric circles, and that was the American elite of politics, finance, entertainment, society, and it just shows that he had something that people wanted. And the question is, was it simply access to the women victims? Was there something else, or was it limited to things like sex and money? Everyone else who apparently was touched by Epstein's life has crashed and burned in one way or another. The question is President Trump the one person who can survive that? And it is a fascinating question because there's nothing positive out there, no matter what's in these files. There's no positive point or reaction to being associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and most people run from it like, a vampire when the sun comes up. But you have President Trump, who seems to survive his connection to Epstein. There's the old expression, whistling past the graveyard, and a lot of America's rich and powerful elite are doing that with this latest release. They are hoping that there's nothing in there that connects them to Epstein if they had a connection to him. So that's what we've got. That's what remains to be seen in this latest dump of 3 million plus documents. Who is in there that we don't know about? What are the connections, and who is connecting the dots to things that we're not even aware of yet? Right. Well, the Epstein law, as written, did not contain any enforcement teeth, so that's why DOJ essentially can get away with not releasing everything by the December 19th deadline, and they can hand the documents and materials out piecemeal in a way. So there's no way to enforce that law. On the other hand, there was that talk of impeachment of Bondi and Blanche and other people who were responsible for, in the eyes of some in Congress, for the delay. But at the end of the day, I think the only way that anyone can be held accountable now is if there is something that indicates there has been some type of concerted or a conspiracy or whatever you want to call it to protect people. Deputy Attorney General Blanche, there was nothing in the files that implicated anything illegal involving President Trump, and he says that's what the last document dump shows. Of course, people are going to be checking that to see if it's accurate, but at the end of the day, there's really nothing other than impeachment or scrutiny by Congress that would come back to haunt Bondi or anybody else connected with this, unless we see some type of real serious effort to either sanitize files or protect people.
Legal experts note that while the newly disclosed records expand public access to historical investigative material, many documents are civil filings, correspondence, and previously sealed exhibits, rather than new criminal charges, underscoring that the release is primarily about transparency and archival disclosure, a point repeatedly emphasized by Justice Department officials who state that sensitive victim information has been redacted, even as public interest continues to focus on accountability, past plea agreements, and whether any further legal action could emerge from the expanded paper trail.